It's time for
DodgerHeads. What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Medium Large Sports Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by Anthony Witrado for a Thursday afternoon show because the Dodgers have a ton of breaking news today. Roster decisions made, options picked up, guys DFA'd, guys outrighted, guys added to the 40-man roster. Anthony, a lot of surprises in this list. We're going to get into all of them, but things move quickly when you win the World Series because everybody else has had some time to think about this.
Yeah, it comes at you quick. I'm sure the Dodgers have been thinking about this as well, obviously. Some of these were sort of, you could kind of see the smoke over the horizon that there could be a fire there. And then some of them were like no-brainers, like the Max Muncy thing. So, not a ton of surprises, but like some pretty, I would say high, moderate kind of, that's interesting kind of stuff.
The way I would put it is, I think if you haven't seen the news already, and we're gonna share this with you, then I think there's going to be a couple names on this list that surprise you. And then once you take 30 seconds to think about it and make sense of it, I think you're going to be like, oh, okay, I probably shouldn't have been surprised by these names.
Yeah.
But when you see guys getting DFA'd and outrighted on November 6th, it's rarely guys that you've heard of before. You will have heard of all of the guys that we're going to talk about on that side of things. And I think that's the surprising part, Anthony.
Yeah, I agree. So if you haven't seen the news, and you're going to see it now, maybe some initial sticker shock, but when you understand the context, they all kind of make sense.
Totally. Super chat here from Baseball Geek says, both of you are terrific service, supplying us Dodger fans with great commentary. We appreciate the kind words. Says, my expectation is this will be a very interesting year with free agency and trades, considering the Dodgers have 24 pitchers for the 13 spots. There's going to be a ton of competition on the pitching side of things. I agree with you. Obviously, 24 pitchers, 13 spots. You do get 40 spots on the 40-man roster. So they can make this work numerically, but I think there's going to be a ton of competition. Baseball Geek 79. You are absolutely right about that. Let's start with the good news, the guys that are going to be back, Anthony, and that is Max Muncy and Alex Vesia, both of whom had options picked up. No surprises here. I joked on social media that if you were following an account that made you wonder whether or not the Dodgers were going to pick these up, you need to go follow a different Dodgers account because $10 million for Max Muncy was always and forever going to be a done deal. Alex Vesia avoiding arbitration last year on a 2-year deal. Again, zero surprises here, but I would say good news if this is qualifies as news, because I think everybody assumed both these guys would be back.
Yeah, this was these are certainly the no-brainers, especially when you consider what the cost is for each guy. So yeah, we knew these were coming. It was just a matter of when. So good that it happened, and we can tack on those numbers to the books when we start digging into hot stove stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. The surprising stuff, I think, came in the categories of designated for assignment and being outrighted. And those names are this. Tony Gonsolin has been DFA'd by the Dodgers. Justin Dean, World Series hero Justin Dean, and Michael Grove have been outrighted. Now, I joked with you. I joked with some people in the baseball world. Someday, Major League Baseball is going to come up with better terms than DFA'd and outrighted because nobody knows what the hell these terms mean anymore. I had to text like 4 people. I'm like, so when it says they're outrighted, does that mean they're headed to waivers? Does that mean they've already cleared waivers? And even people that are very plugged in were all like, I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out soon. Turns out Gonsolin has been DFA'd. That means he's out of the organization. Dean and Grove, because of where they were from a service time perspective, options, etc., they have been outrighted off the 40-man. We have since found out that both guys have already been placed on waivers. Justin Dean was claimed by the Giants, so he's now a member of the San Francisco Giants. We have not heard if Michael Grove has been claimed or not. That news could be coming in a little bit, or it could mean that he will refuse an assignment likely to the Dodgers and then become a free agent. But let's start with the headliner here, which is Tony Gonsolin. This is the sticker shock, I'm guessing, for a lot of people. I love seeing the headlines. Dodgers DFA, former All-Star. That's a great headline. Gonsolin was going to be out. Yeah. Totally. Gonsolin, for those that don't know, was going to miss the entirety of the 2026 season, almost assuredly. It was his last year of team control. So this one, Anthony, in reality, once you understand the facts of the situation, understand how 40-man rosters work, this one should not have been a major surprise.
Yeah, I think that the name this is mainly the sticker shock portion of the shock or the surprise.
Yeah.
Just because he's been a big name and a guy that when he has been healthy has been expected to be a big part of the rotation, and he also in 22. So yeah, he's been a kind of a household name for Dodger fans, but just hasn't been able to stay on the field. And I think you consider that he's in the last year of the deal of team control and won't be pitching this year. That is kind of an easy call for the Dodgers who needed 40-man space anyway.
Yeah, Gonsolin will end up finishing with 411 total innings pitched for the Dodgers, 86 appearances, 78 of them starts, a record of 37-13. And this number is going to surprise people if you haven't paid close attention. His career ERA, obviously entirely with the Dodgers, across 411 innings, 3.34.
Yeah, so he was good.
He was effective. The FIP expected ERA in the 4.1 range, which again is not bad. But he was
sample size is big though, you know?
Yeah.
And
unfortunately totally. And unfortunately for him, he missed all of the 2024 season, came back and threw just 36 innings in 2025. And then, as we said, had another injury and will miss most, if not all, of the 2026 season. So unfortunate for him, unfortunate timing. That's the type of guy that you kind of wonder if he's ever going to make any real Major League Baseball money. Obviously, he was making the MLB minimum, which, you know, a lot of us do worse than that. But I just feel for a guy whose entire career might exist under the team control phase of his earning potential. On the flip side, Justin Dean and Michael Grove. Either of these names surprising to you to see them removed from the 40-man roster?
Michael Grove a little bit.
Missed all of the 2025 season with injury, but presumably was going to be back in time for 2026.
Right. And I thought potentially could have been a trade, not the centerpiece or anything like that, but a guy who you could put into a trade to sweeten things. Justin Dean, not very surprised at all. Very much thank you for your service, Mr. Dean. You will always be appreciated and remembered fondly over here at DodgerHeads for your contributions to a 2025 World Series. Hey, that picture will live on in infamy in Canada.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Michael Grove one, a little bit of surprise, but Dean was not completely unexpected. He's going to be a giant, so we may be seeing him hopefully soon if he can get a shot there.
Yeah, I was going to say something, but I'll just keep it positive here. Justin Dean, by the way, was signed as a minor league free agent about a year ago in December of 2024. So to give you context, this is not the first time that Justin Dean will have been in the situation he is currently in. He again signed a minor league deal a year ago. That was the best available to him, was in the minor leagues most of the year. And it's just tough for a guy like that, Anthony, when the two defining skills that you have are defense and speed, but no offense, no ability to contribute on that side. That just goes to show you how different playoff roster construction is to regular season. Because this is a guy who has value in October and basically almost no value to a team up until then.
Absolutely. I like Justin Dean for that. Like, you look at playoff rosters up and down baseball, and you'll see any given year about half of them will end up with a guy like Justin Dean on that roster. I think he'll end up, you may see Justin Dean in the playoffs again, and you may see him in the playoffs again more than one time. Remember Terrence Gore?
Yeah.
He kept finding homes because he was exactly this type of guy. And now that Dean has been seen on the big stage, and people know, that guy can go play defense and he can run. who knows? The Giants, if they don't make the playoffs, right, they could end up moving him, and a playoff contender could get him, stash him, and then bring him up when the time is right, for a playoff run. So guys like that tend to find homes. I think the most recent of a guy who just kept landing places was somebody like Terrence Gore. But I mean, even Dave Roberts later in his career was that sort of a guy.
Yeah. And that's the difference is I think there's like this assumption of like, well, surely this guy can hit a little bit. And I think that's what Terrence Gore, that's what allowed him to stick around, is he at least had, it seemed like, the ability. Like I joke with people, not everybody is guaranteed to even be able to hit 220 in the major leagues. Like, I know that's terrible. And you're like, well, come on, just hit 220 and you'll be fine. None of that is guaranteed. So he's got 3 option years left. Good for him that he was claimed. That means he gets to stick around on a 40-man roster and on a major league deal. So happy for him. Michael Grove, the other one, obviously, if you followed this show for a while, he's a guy who's been on our show a lot. As a human being, I really like Michael Grove. I'm hoping for the best for him. I think he had moments where clearly the Dodgers believed in his stuff, his ability to get outs. I think he was put in some bad situations, had to mop up some things that maybe destroyed his career numbers. I'll be fascinated to see what happens from here, obviously, as he comes back for injury. Selfishly, as both a person and as a Dodgers fan, like if Grove could come back on a minor league deal with an invite to spring training, and then the Dodgers can just see where he's at, who knows? Like that would be awesome for him. Maybe not awesome for him. I'm sure he's hoping he gets a major league deal, but he's the type of guy that I think, let's see how he comes off of this injury without having to commit to him being on the major league roster. Kind of feels like where the Dodgers are at.
Yeah, I agree. And for him, it was just kind of the numbers game. With everything that they kind of have on the roster right now and guys returning and all of this stuff, he's not going to be the only casualty in some way or shape or form. There's going to be others too. He's just kind of the first along with Gonsolin.
Totally. And one option year remaining is the other piece of this. So the flip side to these moves are the 2 guys who were added to the 40-man roster. That would be Ryan Ward and Robinson Ortiz. One of these names, I think most Dodger fans are probably familiar with, especially those that watch our show. Means you're a hardcore Dodgers fan. You know what's up. And so Ryan Ward is a name that was talked about a lot. I'll be honest. Robinson Ortiz.
Ryan Ward might have the championship belt for named most mentioned by us and in our chat without ever appearing in a Dodger game this season.
100%. 100%. Ortiz, on the other hand, you might be a prospect person who covers the Dodgers, and you might not be entirely sure who Robinson Ortiz is. I went and looked at our guy Justin Lorber, future Dodgers, at his top prospects midseason. Ortiz was inside the top 100, but closer to the bottom of 100 than he was to the middle of 100. I didn't get a chance to look at Bruce's list over on Dodgers Digest yet, but the point is he was a wild card. So let's talk Ryan Ward. Has been eligible for the Rule 5 draft multiple times now, Anthony. I believe it's twice. Was not selected either time. Continues to mash down in AAA. The Dodgers had a massive need in the outfield this year. He never once got called up and added to the 40-man roster. They went with Estuary Ruiz. They went with Justin Dean. They went and traded for Alex Call. They tried James Outman for as long as they possibly could. They stuck with Michael Conforto forever. They dealt with Teoscar Hernandez's defense. I mean, they did all of these things instead of just moving Ryan Ward up to the 40-man roster.
Yeah.
Now, you and I don't know the inside thinking of the Dodgers, but how could you best explain why this happens now and not 3 months ago?
Because they still don't have any plans for him to be on their big league roster. That is the answer. I've seen, you can find situations like this all around baseball every season. I think they think he has value for them, maybe in a trade or something like that, or even if it's just depth at staying in the minor leagues. He was the MVP, right? I think that they believe he has use or value in some way, shape, or form for them. It's just not going to be probably in a Dodger uniform.
I asked Bruce because my initial reaction was, well, just add these guys to the 40-man roster. We'll talk about Ortiz in a second, but like Ward, it's like he can elect for he's I believe about to be a free agent, or like would be eligible in the Rule 5 draft. So like, well, just add him to the 40-man roster because you're probably going to lose him anyways. And then if a month from now you need the spot, then you just cut him or maybe he has some value around the league and you feel like you can trade him for a player to be named later. Like, it felt like to me on the surface, Anthony, with Ward, that this was just protect the asset. Don't let him walk away for nothing. And then if you end up wanting him, he's there. If you don't want him, what's the difference? He was going to be gone anyways. Bruce actually disagreed when I was texting with him. Our guy Bruce is headed to Thursday Night Football. Unfortunately, he's going to watch his Broncos get smashed by my Raiders in Denver tonight, I believe. But beside the point. But Bruce's point was, I don't know why you would do this unless somehow the Dodgers believe he's in their plans. Now, he has 3 option years remaining. This is his first time being added to the 40-man. So he has never been optioned. So they can keep him in the organization for 3 more years and just keep sending him down to AAA now that he is a big leaguer on a 40-man roster. So I'm fascinated to see what happens, to see if this guy is still on the 40-man roster come February or March or, opening day, basically. Is this guy still on the 40-man?
Yeah, if he's there in like when pitchers and catchers report, then it's going to get very interesting.
Yeah.
Because then I think we have to start, putting a magnifying glass on what he looks like during spring training and see, like, is there something there that can play at the major league level in major league parks? I think that the power is natural in there. It's just there's a lot of other stuff that I think the Dodgers as an organization have not believed in yet, or have not shown that they believe in yet. So yeah, he's one of the more intriguing guys in this whole sort of bushel of moves. If I had to make a bet, I don't think we see him play for the Dodgers next season, but he is standing in a position where there is a need right now. So I think that had something to do with it too.
Yeah. Ryan Ward, for those unfamiliar, is a power hitting outfielder. He has the Oklahoma City AAA team this era. He has their franchise record for most home runs. In the last 2 seasons, he has hit 69 home runs in AAA across 263 games. In 2024, as a 26-year-old, so kind of on the upper echelon of age of guys that are playing at that level, he hit 33 home runs, a 258 average, a 317 on base, and a 543 slug. This year, as a 27-year-old, again, 3rd year in AAA, because he started in 2023, 3rd year in AAA, the batting average went up 32 points. The on-base percentage went up 63 points. The slugging percentage stayed the exact same. He is not fast. He is Teoscar Hernandez level fielder in the corner outfield by all accounts.
That might be putting it nicely.
And that might be putting it nicely. And so the question for the Dodgers is, and this is what we debated on our show a number of times, the question is the 32-point batting average jump, 63-point on-base percentage jump, the 4.5% walk rate jump, is that real because he has improved and is demonstrably better than he was? Or was this a 27-year-old playing at the level for the 3rd time and he's just now a man among boys? He's used to the environments, and it's more of just like experience than it is raw talent.
And he gets the bump from the environment that he plays in.
Totally. Yeah. That's why I'm comparing year to year, because to your point, you can't look at just raw AAA numbers and make much sense of them because it's such a hitter's environment.
Totally.
And so,
and to the folks who, have the belief in him, that's great. Don't lose that, because if he ever does become a Dodger, like we're going to believe.
Yeah.
But I think James Outman had even better numbers at one point in
that was
AAA.
my point every time, is like, I'm like, you all hate Outman, just so you know his numbers down there are just as good, if not better.
Right. And we kind of saw how that had played out. So,
and he could field.
Right. Yeah. And he had one attribute that played at the major league level, no matter what.
Yeah.
We're still, the jury's still out on if Ward has that, if his power attribute can translate to the big league. So it's possible now that we'll find out, but I say probably less likely than we will.
Yeah.
Like I said, maybe a trade piece or just organizational depth at this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Outman, by the way, last year in AAA, for what it's worth, in 70 games, was a 136 weighted runs created plus. Ryan Ward was a 132 weighted runs created plus. The difference, which I think people would point out, and I'm sure there's people in the chat mentioning this live, is that Outman struck out a ton. So if you wanted to make the case for Ryan Ward, it's that the walk rate was on par with James Outman. I believe maybe even The walk rate was the walk rate was basically a push between Ward and James Outman. Ward was a little bit higher. The strikeout rate was a lot smaller with Ryan Ward. So maybe that's a carrying trait, is that he has improved his eye. He's improved his bat to ball skills while maintaining power.
And maybe the Dodgers, it's very possible the Dodgers said, look, we need this to improve.
Yeah.
Or this to be at a level that we're comfortable with. And he worked on that. And maybe it's a thing that they're saying, okay, you did it for a long enough sample size. We're now willing to give you a real shot. Could be that, you know what I mean? Yeah. So we'll see.
Totally. And again, the case for Ryan Ward, what's interesting is whether or not the Dodgers, we don't know their intentions with this move. And that's something to keep an eye on. So if Ryan Ward makes it up to the Dodgers, as always, we're going to be rooting for the guy. I would just say to the Ryan Ward stands, I wouldn't throw the celebration party yet. I would wait to see how the next few months play out, because there's a real chance in Oklahoma City that he's going to be there. He's going to be down in Oklahoma City for 3 more seasons.
I know this is hard. Also, this is hard to believe. Like, if somebody told it to me, I would have a hard time believing it. But the Dodgers front office typically knows more than we do.
Sometimes.
Not always,
in
but
most cases.
And they haven't pulled the trigger on Ryan Ward yet. So this is the first step on, if they do, they got to do this first. So he's on the right path. At least we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. And again, you could make, I suppose, the case of they didn't want to burn an option year by adding him to the 40-man roster and having to send him back down. They were in no danger of losing him. Once he started this season with Oklahoma City, there was no downside to keeping him in Oklahoma City. Unless they thought he could dramatically help them at the major league level. And so maybe the plan all along was keep him around and then do this. Now they can option him 3 consecutive years if they wanted to, or they can trade him, or maybe he figures out like how to be passable defensively. Maybe the walk rate is real. The strikeout rate declining is real, and the power is sustainable. I mean, all of that is in play. Crazier things have happened, right? I was joking with Bruce, like, who is it? Nathan Lucas, who they just played, who was like a minor leaguer until he was like 28. I'm not saying that's Ryan Ward's story, but I'm also not saying it's impossible for that to become his story.
Yeah, totally. And this gives them at least a longer runway now. Like, if they're going to do this experiment, they could start it right away. Because like you mentioned, the options, and to do it that late in the season probably just didn't make a ton of optionality sense to the Dodgers.
Yeah, absolutely. Cole says Ryan Ward is the next Michael Busch, aka the next true Dodger killer. It is worth pointing out a couple things on this front. Michael Busch had prospect pedigree, where he was drafted, rankings all the way through. As good as Ryan Ward's numbers were at AAA, I mentioned it was like a 136 weighted runs created plus. Michael Busch was a 155 his final year at 2023. That was at the age of 25 down in AAA. He hit 27 home runs in 98 games. So that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah,
and while the Dodgers couldn't find a place for him because of the position that he was best suited, the Cubs decided first base. That's, I think, the difference. Like Michael Busch, the question was not whether the bat was going to translate. That is a real question with Ryan Ward. If you want to use the word we used a lot during the World Series, if you want to talk about approach, that's a question mark for Ryan Ward. That was not a question mark for Michael Busch. It was simply, where is he going to play?
And it's played out to the point too where 29 other teams didn't believe in him enough to take him for free and create a spot for him on their roster. So it wasn't just the Dodgers who were like, we're not sure about Ryan Ward at this point.
Yeah. Even if you believe the Dodgers are stupid, surely the Rockies would not have been stupid enough to pass twice on a guy like Ryan Ward. Shout out to former Dodger GM Paul DePodesta, who might be headed to Colorado. Real quick, Ortiz.
Left-handed Browns losing.
Yeah, exactly. Left-handed relief pitcher Robinson Ortiz. I mentioned it, not on any prospect lists of note. He's 25. He'll turn 26 in January. He's intriguing, and Bruce pointed this out to me, so shout out to Bruce for a couple of reasons. I believe he joined the Dodgers as an international free agent, debuted in the organization back in 2017, obviously missed all of 2020 because there was no minor league baseball. Then he pitched 11 innings in 2021, missed all of 22, all of 23, and threw just 11 innings in 2024. So basically between 2019, when he threw 86 innings, and 2025, from between 19 and 25, what's that? 20, 21, 22, 23. 4 seasons, he threw 22 innings. This past year, he was back 59 innings, almost exclusively in relief. 48 appearances in relief, 1 start, 2.73 ERA. So I have nothing to give you on Robinson Ortiz. I'm shocked by this. Clearly, there's something they see that made them believe that maybe he was going to be taken in the Rule 5 draft, and they decide to make this move now. But I don't know. I don't have a scouting report for you. Is the bottom line here on Robinson Ortiz, Anthony?
Yeah, I had never heard of him, and I know you had to send out a few texts to get someone who had. This is interesting because over the course of that many seasons, that few innings, and a guy who no one had really ever talked about, for him to be added here is like, who cares if someone else was interested in him? I guess would be like my response. Like, okay, but yeah, who knows? This one is puzzling to me. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out.
21 2/3 at high A this year, 21 1/3 at double A, and 16 1/3 at triple A. So he climbed the ladder all in 1 year since coming back from injuries. Again, a 2.73 was the overall ERA. Electric strikeout rates at high A and at double A dipped well below 9. At triple A, the walk rate is concerning. But, I imagine there's something here with this guy, whether it's stuff, whether it's velocity, whether it's just the way that his arm has bounced back from missing, basically 4 entire seasons. So there we go. TQT in the chat says, I've heard of him and I am shocked. So there you go. Sounds about right. He would not have been, I don't think, on many, like, who are the Dodgers going to protect in the Rule 5 draft lists. I threw out some names the other day and said, here's kind of the highest ranked players that the Dodgers have when it comes to like who they might protect in the Rule 5 draft. And safe to say, Robinson Ortiz was not on that list. He was not in the top 3 or 4 prospects that was eligible.
Right. And not to keep hopping on the guy's head, but you reached out to our guy Bruce, right? And Bruce was like, I know who this person is, but like I don't have a ton of information either on him. Is that what that was?
He was basically like, I can't give you the scouting report off the top of my head. I'm sure Bruce has it somewhere.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I think it's safe to say, I don't want to speak entirely for Bruce. I think he was surprised by both of these moves, by the Ryan Ward decision based on just history, how the Dodgers have handled this for the last 12 months. And then Robinson Ortiz of all people. I think both of those names were surprising to Bruce. So we'll see. By the way, Peter Hubeck, Noah Miller, and Maddox Bruns are the 3 guys that are the highest ranked on like our guy Justin Lorber's list or Bruce's list that are Rule 5 eligible for the first time this year, by the way. So again, Robinson Ortiz, not a part of that group. Cole says, when we wonder about these moves, see Jack Dreyer. Dreyer was not a guy who was a common name. Obviously, we've detailed his story as far as coming up through as an undrafted free agent and then signing with the Dodgers and then coming up. So Jack Dreyer making his major league debut in 2025 makes a ton of sense. I would add Jack Dreyer had a lot more experience at AAA in the year before he got called up and had a lot more effectiveness. He had a 2.2 ERA with an 11.3 strikeouts per 9 and a 1.8 walks per 9. Ortiz's numbers were not that. 2.73 is good. 10.92 is the overall number. It was 7.71 strikeouts per 9 at AAA with a 5 walks per 9. So again, I don't think it's apples to apples, but I think Cole's point in general of, hey, the Dodgers have put guys on the 40-man that nobody was necessarily expecting. And as a result of that, things have worked out pretty well for them. So they're also, if not the best, then one of the best top tier player development organizations in baseball. And so if they see something here and they think like this guy's about to turn it on, they've definitely earned our trust. Yeah, absolutely. I have somebody in my mentions on social media. And they said maybe these are just trade pieces for Tarek Skubal. So there you go.
Hey, there you go.
I got no news on that. All right, let's take a handful of questions here, all caps questions, if you want to announce that. It does sound like, by the way, some Silver Sluggers are being announced. So that's I love this. Fansided with Robert Murray is currently announcing Silver Slugger winners, and there are more people watching our show right now than are watching that award show. So we have the best fans. Part 7,294. So shout out to that. The Dodger Blue account is keeping you updated on the Silver Slugger Awards, by the way, in case you are interested. Pete Alonso beat out Freddie Freeman at first base. Manny Machado beat out Max Muncy at third base. Those are some of the names that we have so far. So there we go. Let's see. Let's see if we got some questions. Mr. Pulp says, should the Dodgers bring back Bellinger or would you rather have Tucker? I have not done a deep dive on Kyle Tucker or Cody Bellinger's most recent performance. Some of us were slightly preoccupied with other baseball events over the last month. We didn't have as much time as the Padres folks did, Anthony, to plan for the offseason ahead of November 6th.
Ooh.
But gut reaction, Cody Bellinger, Kyle Tucker, given the prices.
Yeah, I would probably stay away from both of them.
Okay. Why?
I think Tucker is probably going to command anywhere between $300 and $400 million.
Yeah. And
I don't think he's that caliber of player. I don't think he's like so elite at anything that he's that must-have kind of guy. Very good player, but like I don't think he's a guy that you're going to see in MVP discussions over the duration of that contract.
Yeah.
So I think the Dodgers can better use that money in other ways if they're intent on spending that much. And then Bellinger, I think that ship has sailed. He's a Boris guy too, so that could get dicey in terms of a negotiation. I think the Dodgers probably can go fish out better options to fill the outfield holes.
Yeah, I posted this on Twitter recently and basically just said I have two very conflicting thoughts about Kyle Tucker. Obviously, the Dodgers have a need in the outfield. Kyle Tucker is unquestionably the best outfielder that we know of that's available.
For sure. Absolutely.
It's not close. I also think he is going to get paid like he's a superstar, and he's not a superstar. And that's the tricky part. I think it was Eno Saris that tweeted out, and I was like, Eno kind of put it perfectly how I feel about him. And he basically said, like, he's treated like he's elite. Let me see if I can find it. He says, I wouldn't pay $400 million for Kyle Tucker's services. Pretty good at a lot of things, but not elite at anything. And I was like, that's kind of the perfect summary.
Yeah.
So I just think there's going to be teams that are more desperate for him. And I know it's like, it's not my money and that whole thing, but I just don't think the Dodgers are going to be the top spender for Kyle Tucker. That's the sense I get. I know there's stories out there about like his personality and whether it's a fit and whether he would want to come with the Dodgers. Like, is this an Anthony Rendon 2.0 situation? So there's also that in the mix.
Yeah, I have not ever once asked around about Kyle Tucker in terms of like who he is to any of my sources or anything like that. I didn't have any reason to. And when I heard that just recently for the first time, it was the first time I had heard it. I was like, oh, those are massive red flags. For that to even be brought up at all around a guy those are massive red flags.
If true.
Right. But and that's what I'm saying. For it to even be brought up as a thing means someone somewhere has talked about it because someone somewhere has gotten a whiff of it. And that is very, very bad when you're committing that much money and that much time to one guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. And by the way, love Cody Bellinger, the person. I don't think he's going to get anywhere near the money that's being projected. How many years in a row does Cody Bellinger get projected as like a $100 million guy and then get signed for like a 1 or 2 year deal before we stop projecting him as a $150 million guy? But people are still doing it. So unless it's like a 1 year deal, initial gut reaction is I don't see it.
Yeah, no desire there. I think it's also telling that the Cubs, who are notoriously now behaving like a mom and pop small market team when they are like a revenue juggernaut.
Yeah.
But even with that fact, the fact that they're not in on Kyle Tucker, I think says something as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Some more Silver Sluggers that have been announced. Ketel Marte, winner at second base. Perdomo, the winner at shortstop. So there you go. You've got 3 National League West players in the infield winning Silver Sluggers so far. Baseball Geek says, who do you think the Dodgers are going after with a trade for the outfield? I've shared my thoughts. And I actually talked to my guy, Scott Gearman, and apparently we are aligned on this. It sounds like, but I think Jarren Duran is an interesting name. And I say that with one caveat. The caveat being, depending on if the Dodgers believe in him as a defensive option. 2024, he graded out, and I hate defensive metrics, so I'm going to start there. 2024, he graded out as borderline elite defensively in center field. And in 2025, he graded out very poorly as below average. So if he is below average defensively, then I'll move on. And I'm not really that interested. But if they think he can play like a above average center field defensively with the numbers offensively that he has consistently put up at the major league level, then I'm intrigued. And that's partly because the Red Sox desperately need starting pitching. And the Dodgers have, as somebody pointed out, I think Baseball Geek was the one who pointed out earlier, the Dodgers have about 1 million starting pitchers on their 40-man roster. And so when you look at the guys like Kasperius and Robleski and Kyle Hurt and Jackson Ferris and, those types, Gavin Stone, River Ryan, Emmett Sheehan, like, I'm not saying those are all guys that I would want moved. I want none of them moved, to be clear. But I could see a world where you realize Duran's maybe your best option. He's cost protected for the next 4 years. I believe he's a free agent in 29 or 30. And he kind of checks the box of a high-end defensive outfielder potentially with a bat, at the very least a platoon bat, but the strong side, the right-handed pitching side of a platoon. So all those reasons, I think Duran is interesting.
I don't know Jarren Duran. Also another guy I haven't really checked in on with my people that might have an idea, but it feels like one of the first questions I would want to know is what's he like in the clubhouse, because the Dodgers have worked very hard to build this culture. And he sometimes rubs me as a guy who is a me first kind of guy.
And that rep is out there.
Yeah. So that's interesting. The Dodgers and Red Sox obviously have matched up in trades before, so that's a natural fit. The other one that I could see a possibility is Stephen Kwan, but Cleveland as an organization has been notoriously overvalued their own guys. Now, that could change in the offseason with a guy like Kwan, who they put a high price tag on during the trade deadline and no one bit. Yeah. And so maybe they bring it back down to reality a little bit. But the one that is all of these guys feel like platoon kind of guys too. Duran, Kwan, and then this next name is Harrison Bader, who just declined an option with the Phillies. And with him, he would only cost money.
Yep.
And it would allow the Dodgers to get another platoon guy, a guy who's a glove first kind of player, and not have to spend prospect capital.
Yeah. And Alex asks about Cedric Mullins, who I think belongs kind of in the same category, although Mullins is getting up there in age. But I've kind of said, if the Dodgers don't want to swim in the Kyle Tucker, Jarren Duran waters, then I could see them going after somebody. And I would say the mold of Stephen Kwan, Cedric Mullins, Harrison Bader. We can argue about the different tiers that those three might be in. But basically what you're saying is, can I get a league average offensive player who's really good at defense would be the question. And obviously in Kwan, you're adding a guy who's 28 years old. Cedric Mullins, I believe, is 31. Harrison Bader is coming off a career year offensively. So his numbers last year were way above average on offense. His career numbers are way closer to league average. Yeah. And so I could see a world where the Dodgers just say, hey, let's just go get a guy who's going to lock down center field defensively and can just keep people honest with the bat, which is kind of the Tommy Edman mold, basically, So I could see them going that route if the right massive upgrade in the outfield doesn't materialize.
I'm with you there. I think they probably go big game window shopping, but with the hand on the checkbook just in case, something like that. And then maybe pivot to something a little less. I will say an outfield alignment of Teo in left, Bader in center, and Paez in right is very intriguing to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And who knows what the cost. Bader's the fascinating one because, again, he had such an explosion offensively that it's possible that his price has gone way up. So I'll be curious.
And that's a really good point. He may have his play, and the whole reason he turned down a $10 million option is probably because he's going to earn more than that. But he may have played himself out of what the Dodgers were willing to spend for a guy like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I'm like, go Cedric Mullins, 31 on the tail end. But it's like, if you just want to buy yourself some time until the DePaula, Sirota, Quintero, Zaire Hope group makes their way up, which again, I would say is probably 2027, maybe the back half of 2027. But to me, it's like, and I see Scott saying this, never trade for a contact noodle bat like Kwan. That's the thing to me. Like, if you want Stephen Kwan, just go sign Bader or Cedric Mullins, or again, these guys are like, you hope for league average offensively. You hope for a Tommy Edman style output offensively, but give me like borderline elite defense in center field. So
yeah,
it's a question. Let's see. Juan Soto and Corbin Carroll, Kyle Tucker, Silver Sluggers in the outfield. So that concludes the position players in the National League. We're going to have to hop off here in just a second. I think it's safe to say, Anthony, that on the DH position, I guess I shouldn't say anything. Safe to say the DH position will be interesting, right? Kyle Schwarber versus Shohei Ohtani for Silver Slugger.
I could see the Silver Slugger going to Schwarber. I could see that. Yeah. Because I think you'd be hard pressed to find anyone who thinks the MVP doesn't go to Shohei Ohtani. So I could see players who votes for Silver Slugger.
I have no idea. Probably the same clowns that vote for the Gold Glove. Ohtani, by the way, 172 weighted runs created plus. Schwarber was 152. So,
okay, yes, it's okay. Coaches and managers voting for the best offensive player at each position. I could see them giving the nod to Schwarber, thinking Schwarber's not going to win the MVP because they're players and coaches, and sometimes it works that way.
It's comical. So Schwarber hit 56 home runs. Ohtani hit 55. Shohei Ohtani had a batting average that was 42 points higher than Kyle Schwarber. He had an on-base percentage that was 27 points higher than Kyle Schwarber. And he had a slugging percentage that was 59 points higher than Kyle Schwarber.
It would be so hard to legitimately have to justify a Kyle Schwarber choice over Shohei Ohtani for that award.
Yeah. Right. It would feel like, hey, let's just give this guy. What was it? The other award that Kyle Schwarber recently won? It was like
Player's
most outstanding
Award,
player
of the year. Player of the year, Player's Choice Award. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's crazy town. So stay tuned. I was trying to stick around long enough to get the DH award, but apparently they're just like freaking slow dripping this on the I cannot emphasize.
Because it's probably the only race that people care about seeing.
Yeah, it's a great point by you. Absolutely. Ella Shiva wants to know your thoughts on Ben Rortvedt. If I asked you right now, Anthony, is Ben Rortvedt on the Dodgers 40-man roster on opening day? Would you say yes or no?
The 40-man roster, that's the tough one. He's not on the 26-man roster on opening day.
And he has so that's your answer then. He has no option years remaining.
Okay, then no.
I'm with you. I just think logistically it makes sense for him to not be on the 40-man roster or the opening day roster.
Yeah,
so unless there's an injury.
Options, yeah. So my answer would be no.
Maybe there's a world where they kind of hang him around until spring training just to make sure that they can get through spring training without some sort of catastrophic injury to the two catchers that are also on that list.
Yeah, for sure. I could see that.
But I just think, and we kind of mentioned this earlier when we were talking about the Ryan Ward stuff, like the Dodgers are going to need these spots on the 40-man roster eventually. So there's going to be a lot of maneuvering going on when it comes to that. So something to keep an eye on. We got a super chat here from Juan, and we'll close the show out with this one. It says, worst part about the Dodgers winning the World Series is that we have to wait a whole year to see it all over again. There you go. Couple programming notes for you. Normally we do a Thursday night show. Our crew, for various reasons, not available. Matt was going to host. He's not feeling well. something about staying up all night. I think game 7 to have to fly back across, I was going to say across the country, internationally across the country, back to the United States. So he is still recovering. So give us a break on Thursday night tonight. That's why I texted Anthony and said, hey, let's just hop on for a little afternoon show. So we will be off tonight, but starting on Sunday, we will begin our off-season coverage, which is going to be the exact same Sunday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night. The only change is that Anthony and Bruce, for some scheduling reasons, are going to flip-flop on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it'll be me and Anthony on Sunday nights. It'll be me and Bruce on Tuesday nights, and it'll be me and Anthony on Thursday nights. Obviously, there will be days and times when one of us is unavailable. We'll have fill-ins. We'll have people hopping on with us as a 3-man show. So, yes, we will ensure that you are well covered for the Dodgers as things happen. Oh, by the way, Hunter Goodman won the Silver Slugger for catcher. So Will Smith did not win catcher. I'd missed that we had not announced catcher yet. Another National League West player winning an award that is not a Dodger, Anthony. So in case you're wondering, I'm just going to look up real quick because I'm curious about that one. Let's see. I want regular season Fangraphs. Thank you. Hunter Goodman, 118 weighted runs created plus. I guess technically Will Smith did not qualify for these awards.
He was a finalist, though. Will Smith was a finalist, so he could have won it.
He was way better than Hunter Goodman. 153 weighted runs created plus for Will Smith. Higher batting average by 20 points. 81 points higher on the on-base percentage, 20 points less on the slugging percentage. Goodman played 34 more games, had 140 more at-bats, had 14 more home runs. So, do you care about this, Anthony?
I feel bad for Will Smith for it. He got paid, so it is what it is. But it especially sucks for like when guys are under team control and they lose out on things like this because a lot of their contracts are filled with incentives that give them more money for awards like this. And it's just such a bad voting system.
Which I guess the good news is that is not the case for Will Smith because he's already signed his extension.
Right.
So it's possible that he has some incentives in there and that he lost a little bit of money. But again, I think all in all, Will Smith is perfectly fine with how the 2025 season played out.
I think so.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for us here. DodgerHeads presented by DodgerBlue.com. That is Anthony. I am Jeff. As always, we appreciate you. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, those listening after the fact via Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. We appreciate you. If you are new and have not already subscribed, please hop in. We are inching closer to 100,000 subscribers, which is a huge number for us, something that we want to celebrate. We would love for you to be a part of that. I was just going to try and figure out. I believe we were at 99.3 last time I checked. 99.7. We are less than 300 people away. So if you could do us a favor, I know a lot of people are in there and say, hey, we're big fans of the show. Some of you super chat. We love that. Some of you hop in every time. We love that too. If you have Dodgers fans in your life, just send them a text, tag them on Twitter, tag them on Instagram and say, hey, if you haven't already, just go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel because we like the Dodgers content that they've got coming. We would love to get to 100,000 people before that Sunday night show that Anthony and I are going to be doing. So please go ahead and do that. We'd greatly appreciate it at DodgerBlue.com, Dodger Blue app. And again, the podcast, all those things. But YouTube, we are so close to 100,000 followers. So we're like less than 300 people away, which it's not a lot of people for it's different than where we were 5 years ago. I'll put it that way. So we appreciate again, everyone hopping on and joining us for this. Enjoy the rest of your night. Go Dodgers. And yes, still champs.